In a Sentimental Mood by Duke Ellington is one of those great jazz standards that you'll hear and play quite a bit in different forms. So in this book, I've got a reasonably basic version. It's swing. It's got some interesting notes, so it's challenging for the beginner. But the rhythm's essentially a kind of a basic swing. What makes this an interesting piece to play as a saxophone tutor piece is that it gives you an introduction to just embellishing the music a little bit. So we're not going to go full on improvisation, but there are places where you can put little grace notes, little falls and runs, just to make the piece a little bit more interesting. So it sounds a little bit like this. So the piece continues, but first of all, I'm going to just go back and demonstrate a few things that are going on here. Now we can just play the notes, and it'll sound like you're playing in a sentimental mood, but we want to be able to, really make this thing sing. So first of all, you got your swing rhythm, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now we have a long note. We want to do something with this long note. Two things we can do: dynamics. So we can hit it, we can fall away, and then bring it back. The other thing we can do is try and do a vibrato. Now vibrato, it's one of those challenging things to do. In essence, what you're doing is just letting your jaw flex. If you have a default sound, generally what happens is you're not loosening the embouchure, you're actually squeezing it a little bit. It's the other way around, so it's a little bit of both, but generally I like to think of it as you're taking your good, open, nice, jazzy kind of saxophone sound and just kind of putting a bit of pressure on that reed. And then it's up to you to vibrato as you see fit. Maybe start slow, speed up the vibrato. So this is where you listen to a lot of jazz music and go, yeah, I want to sound like that person. And dynamics, of course. Okay, so now what we've got is like a dotted crotchet, low A, and it gives us a lot of space to do a little run up to that D. Probably not the most ideal place, but it's good enough for an example. So what have we done here? We've just taken a very simple do-wa-da, and we're just doing the notes from the scale. We're in F major, so A, B flat. So really you can think of it as like we've just done a grace note, or a pair of grace notes, a B flat, C, D. Cool. So that's trick number 2. So hang on, 3. We've got vibrato, we've got some dynamic variation, and now we've just done these little these glides, which is really just sometimes chromatic, sometimes kind of like a grace note sound. What else we got? Okay, so sometimes this gets overdone. Do-da-da, you start the pitch low and you scoop up to it. Saxophone scooping sometimes gets overdone, so you got to be careful. A lot of the time you want to hit that note pure. You don't want to be doing this all the time, but sometimes it has that nice growl quality, so it's a good thing to try. Okay, so now I've put in another grace note. Nice simple E. But let's put a grace note. Okay, so that one's a chromatic scale. We're going B flat. So if you ever wanted a reason to keep practicing those chromatic scales, it's for things like this, these little embellishments. let's go on to the next part of the piece. So that last bar, that's as written, but a lot of the other embellishments are actually me. There's a whole bunch of swung quavers. But did you hear me change the rhythm up a little bit and then play catch up? Do da 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 da. So you just do da 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 da. It's just a basic swing rhythm, but we can play with it a little bit. Oops, wrong notes. Okay, so we got something like that. Also, did you notice at the beginning we have these really, really, really long notes? You got to do something with them to make them interesting. Okay, that's 4, 5, 7. I've got 7 beats worth there. So you want to get some dynamics. It's a low husky note, so try and get it in tune. I'm always flat on these things. And just let it glide out, and then sneak in. Okay, notice we're pulling the crescendo. We're putting the crescendo in there. Embellishing the rhythm a bit. Okay, etc, etc, etc. On that rhythm at the end, it's quite tricky. It's just we got a semiquaver, 1 E and a 2 E pineapple 3. Da 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 da. But if you break it into quavers, da 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 da, because it's a tie. And then this little glide out, and that's one interpretation on how to play in a sentimental mood.